we're going to look at 3 different replays of Brewmaster players. First off is a Herald tree, then we're going to look at Archon tree, and finally Immortal. And straight off the bat, Brew is going in playing aggressive, and he has used his Fairy Fire quite early here, and he is focusing this Monkey King, and with OD, by focusing one hero, they end up getting first blood. Now here, Brew is going in manning up, but he just doesn't get enough time to use his clap a second time. But in turn, because he didn't move away, and he could have done something like orb walking and ensure that the Lina would chase after him, so Lina would commit a further position, in turn allowing OD to get the second kill there, and you have 2 kills instead of 1. Either way, Brew has now bought 3 tangos and a clarity. He's walked back to lane. He missed the entire first creep wave. He could have easily TP'd there. Now this lane is kind of bizarre, and there's no format to it, and it's just what you kind of expect from a Herald game, I suppose. And they're just using all their spells and mana back and forth. And here Brew has 380 health. He's using all of his mana here for very little reason. And now he's just going to TP back to the fountain, and he already as well had enough mana for 2 spells. There was no reason to go back there, yet what he ended up doing was buying more tangos because he went through all 3 of them already and bought a Quelling Blade. His strategy here with the Quelling Blade is to cut down all the trees so Monkey King can't jump up on them. He gives up quite quickly because he realizes that the cooldown is kind of long, and he does cut down trees from now and again, but he is manning up regularly. He is kind of cautiously low here. However, at the same time, he's very tanky. He has 1k HP. Spirit Breaker and Monkey King try and dive him, which he ends up surviving. This 1k HP and the hero is really strong. He spends over a minute before he decides to go to the shrine, which either way it works out on how he played there. So now Brew hits low health again. He walks back to the fountain, and this is his second trip back. He buys a Ring of Health, and then when you see this item you probably think, oh yeah, he's not going to have to buy any more regen from now on, but that's not the case. He keeps buying regen throughout the rest of the game, and at this point OD has 10 last hits and Brewmaster has 15, so it's kind of a trade of both of them farming at the same time. And now he's just almost level 6. He hits level 6, uses his clap and realizes he has no mana, and luckily the shrine was there. He used his ult, and Lina is going to turn around now and use her ult, and she used it on the earth Brewling, or else was the fire one. Either way, it doesn't really kill anything. Bad usage of her ulti, and Brew is pretty much away here, right? But he decides to go back in, which is relatively stupid when there's 3 heroes around. He wasn't aware that the rest of his teammates ended up dying there. Now in this case, Lina did chase after Brew here and committed her position. So what we saw at the rune the first time, this is what Brewmaster should have done. Now Brew's respawned, he buys a Fairy Fire, 3 tangos and a Glove of Haste. With how he's kind of playing, which is running around the map and right clicking people, it probably would have been a good idea to buy boots for extra movement speed. But either way, he is picking up kills kind of randomly, and he's kind of allowing the enemy to tumble up under their own feet. But he's back into another fight, really fast paced this game happens to be, but he didn't have enough mana to use his ult after using the clap. But here now he kind of misused his ulti. He used it kind of a wrong time. His Earth Brewling ends up dying, but he does back off, and he does understand that he does respawn at the Wind Brewling or the Storm Brewling, the blue one, right? I don't even remember the name of it. He was finished up treads. He went to Clarity and a Mango. He's after activating the Clarity, and he's coming in for some right clicks. Now, this was pretty decent. He even gets his ulti. So every time his ulti is ready, he's just using it. It's pretty good usage of it as well. And he used his Cyclone on his Wind Brewling again. And this time, he ends up not catching Sniper because he missed the clap. Sniper was still cycloned at the time, and he didn't click up on high ground either when chasing after Sniper. This is kind of like a rookie mistake when you deal with like Fog of War, where you don't click on high ground, you just click on the hero, and when the hero goes out of vision, you don't follow after them. He ends up buying a Vit booster now, and he's going Vanguard. So he ends up buying the Stout Shield last, which is probably the worst time to buy it. You should probably buy it the first time. So before this fight, he told his teammates, group up ultimate ready with the chat wheel, which is a really good way of getting his team to group together. However, if you look at the mini-map, none of his team are there, only Sven. And Sven is quite under-leveled. He's only level 10 right now. And what ends up happening here is Sven dies, and Brew goes in after it. And Shadow Shaman's here a little bit late, and Medusa's here late. So the rest of his team don't have very good mobility, and going in there kind of too early if he waited a few more seconds. So now Brew's team is pushing mid lane with Shadow Shaman wards, and they're also winning a fight. And meanwhile, this Life Stealer is just farming creeps. He's just kind of, I say he's kind of given up at this point. But here you end up seeing that they're chasing after Brew in his ultimate. And this is a pretty good way to disengage. He's even using the invisibility. It's very good. Like, he's actually using all of his spells in his Brew ult. But what's unfortunate about it is that nobody's taking advantage of this. If we look at OD, he's in the fountain. Sven is just running around the map aimlessly. And Medusa is the only one who's actually farming and doing anything with it. But it ends up being here. Another fight breaks out after they use the shrine. Brew is tanking everything, and Medusa used a really good ulti here, and Brew actually ends up surviving through this. Really nice play, and the Vanguard's paying off. But usually, regardless of what items you buy, it's a lot about how you have high effective use of the items that are in play. So with this build, he's theoretically doing that. What's kind of weird though is when he is pushing out creep waves like this, he keeps using his second spell, Cinder Brew. It does very little damage, and it only does like a single instance of attacking yourself, so it does very little damage to the creeps in comparison to your overall mana. Now, buying this clarity while pushing the creep waves is a really good idea. However, buying these extra mangoes, I don't think so. You'll see that the clarity is more than enough for him to heal back up without the need of a mango. Brew has picked up a blade mail as well here. He's going in on sniper. He really hates this sniper this game. He's like, no way am I losing to a sniper. I've lost so many times in my herald against the sniper. And he doesn't have dust here, and sniper ends up getting away. Now, you can't use dust in your brew ult, but typically you want to use your dust before you pop your ulti. It's 32 minutes into the game. Brew ends up picking up 2 tomes of knowledge, so it's pretty obvious players are not keeping very aware of the timings of these tome of knowledges, and if it's your game, you usually take advantage of that. Now, he ends up going here in aggressive Monkey King with a really good play here onto the high ground, making use of the Fog of War. Unfortunately, Blade Mail does not return damage in Monkey King's ultimate. It's only if Monkey King attacks you directly can you return damage to him. So the Blade Mail is not super effective in this scenario. But either way, this ends up being a really poorly coordinated team fight for the Radiant side. And Monkey King's ultimate here really pretty much separated them apart and ended up messing up the whole team. Ended up dying as a result of that. So now Brew is TP'd mid on his own. His team are dead and he uses ulti. Maybe he misclicked here, I don't know. I looked at it a couple of times. I couldn't figure out. I think he was just kind of using it, trying to kill Lina, and didn't do very well. But in turn there ends up being a fight bottom, which would have been a vastly better place to use his ulti. But in turn now he's just going back to the fountain, healing up on mana, and now he's bought like observers and sentries, which is pretty nice because his team are not really buying him any, and he was kind of supposed to be support, I guess, or something like that. He could have adapted and played support, but either way, the way that he's playing this game ends up being kind of like as if he's a tank more than anything. And he goes and places down wards in his own jungle, which are pretty nice places. This third ward that he placed down is kind of weird, and it's kind of odd how you would put all the wards in the same spot. Now, here is a very silly play altogether. He runs after sniper, and he doesn't have his blade mail anymore, and he ends up just dying. So they're kind of like relatively silly plays, and you can't just walk up to someone, especially someone like the sniper. And his new knockback, which even with the talent, is something that you don't want to be dealing with. And if we look, he did get the plus 35 knockback distance on headshot. Now Brew has bought dust. He was pinging sniper in top lane. Now he's going in, and he pinged it about 10 to 15 seconds earlier, so his team could come in, and as you see with 3 heroes, it's very easy to kill sniper, especially when he's on his own, and punishing that bad position of sniper coming across the river on his own. Now a fight starts breaking out here at Roshan, and Brew is pretty late to the fight, and he doesn't have a blink dagger to quickly come into the fight either. In turn, he ends up coming in, use a clap on 3 heroes. He's in Monkey King's ult and used his own Brew ult to zone Monkey King out, which is pretty nice here. He didn't use Cyclone on Monkey King, that would have been a bad idea, but he should have used Cyclone here on Sniper. It would have helped him survive through that very easily, even using the invisibility on his Wind Brewling. He's telling his team now to go mid on the minimap, which is very insightful stuff there, and we end up having no pressure put while Brew was dead, so pretty nice here. And Brew is coming in just after respawning, chasing after the sniper. He's like, not again, I'm not losing to another sniper. He used the Brew ult early. He's so aggroed on the sniper, he has to dive a tier 4 for him. And he ends up not even getting the kill on sniper, because actually sniper had Mask of Madness and he life steals through all of it, and he's quite farmed as well. The sniper's level 25. If we look at like hero net worth and stuff, sniper is the highest net worth, Brew is the lowest net worth of every hero in the game. But in turn, this Shadow Shaman is doing some carrying plays. He's defending on his own and ends up killing this sniper on his own. Like, Spirit Breaker could have just charged him or anything. There was like 5 heroes alive, yet Shadow Shaman manages to get some random kills. So these kind of things end up happening at this MMR, and Shadow Shaman is actually a really good hero at these low MMRs because of the fact that how long he can just disable and hold someone in one position, and eventually your teammates are just gonna come and, like, look at his shackle. Like, he can shackle for days. 7.5 seconds he can shackle for. It's insane. And his team can, regardless of how bad their position is, he can just ensure that they always come to team fights. Whereas this Brew now is kind of ignoring what the rest of his team are doing, and he ends up dying on mid lane. And he's kind of ignoring what the rest of his team are doing right now. He's not doing that much. So in turn, if we look at what the rest of his team are doing, they're after taking mid and bottom racks, while Brew is pushing in last ditching creeps. In turn, Medusa ends up getting mega creeps without Brew even involved. And this kind of disconnect to his team at certain points throughout the game is very apparent. So some of the stuff there's a lot of stuff he could obviously work on. Definitely his net worth being pretty much the lowest on his team is not a good thing. But other than that, like, his micro was pretty decent this game. A lot better than what I expected. I expected him only to use Boulder throughout this game. But very nice play from this Brew. His item build is kind of bizarre as well. Now we're looking at an Archon 3 Brewmaster, and he's in a party with Io, and he's leveled Cinder Brew on level 1 for extra movement speed, and he's also the hero that's going to be farming predominantly in the offlane. And he's going an early Soul Ring in this scenario, and he's also picked up an early Quelling Blade. So he has all 6 slots used, which is pretty nice, and he is playing aggressive every time his Cinder Brew is ready off cooldown. And as you'll see here, the Lifestealer now is really low on health. And if we have a quick look at Lifestealer's item, he still has 5 tangos and he's not actively using them. In turn, Brew actually ends up punishing him here and running him down with Io, and the overcharge is pretty strong too. They running through the trees trying to find him. They don't use Quelling Blade in the tree line, but with Io's right clicks and Brew's finally again another Cinder Brew usage, he ends up getting the kill there. Now, as you'll see, this lane is kind of just a back and forth, and they do constantly play aggressive here. However, the bad thing about this, even though they get away there, they end up missing out on a lot of last hits. You'll notice that they never look for last hits in this lane, yet do play aggressive here. And this kill is worth more than what relatively a creep wave is worth at this point, maybe around the same. They chase pretty hard here and end up, do they go for the kill? No, they back off, but in turn they missed a huge amount of experience and gold by chasing after that AA there. As you'll see now, it's 5 minutes into the game and Brewmaster only has 6 last hits, now 7, and that's his 8. They're pretty slow to go for the bounty runes here and pretty late on it too. Io should have went a little bit earlier, and if this AA had a slightly better positioning, he could have picked up both bounty runes in that scenario. And straight away again, instead of going for creeps, they're going in and playing aggressive. Lifestealer does end up killing Io and taking him down. When Io comes back to the lane, they're gonna play aggressive straight away again, and they're probably like communicating to each other what they're trying to do here. And Brew, being in this aggressive position, he kind of backs up, which is a little bit weird there, and going in here and ends up like getting stunned. Luckily he didn't get stunned under the tower. If he had walked under the tower there, he would have taken a lot of extra damage kind of unnecessarily. But in turn, he ends up playing aggressive here with the Io's overcharge. He's just going to get a couple of tower hits in and he ends up surviving. So really nice use of overcharge to save this Brew. But they are playing this lane pretty well overall. Aside from the fact, again, there's only 10 last hits. The past 2 minutes, there's been no progression on any last hits whatsoever in this lane. Now at the 10-minute rune, they're very late to go for it. And in turn, AA actually ends up picking up both the bounty rune. So what happened that potentially could have happened at the 5-minute rune ended up actually happening at the 10-minute rune. Coincidentally, they end up getting a kill here with Necrophosin on mid lane, who rotated, and they're chasing down the Lifestealer now, and they end up getting killed. Nice little kill there, and Brew is ready with his ultimate. He's also going a Blink Dagger first, so now he's focusing on getting these last hits, And in turn, this Keeper of the Light ultimate is really good. It catches all the Brewlings in one spot. He's used his Brew Cyclone here onto Keeper of the Light. Really nice play here. And a boulder onto AA. They end up focusing down to AA and getting the kill. What's really nice here is he throws out a boulder just before it ends and claps at the same time. So the usage of cooldowns is really nice here. And ends up getting a nice kill here onto the Keeper of the Light. This slow coming out from Lifestealer, but Brew is tanky enough to survive through it. He has 1.2k HP, and that nice play that he did there under the tower ends up in turn getting him his Blink Dagger at 12 minutes, which is really good. His first use of Blink Dagger is to go mid and go in on 3 heroes. What he's doing here right now is quite stupid. Potentially Kunkka could turn around and get a kill here. Kunkka has his ultimate ready with Zeus like stuns or anything. Zeus now has got his ultimate ready and could have easily just killed Brewmaster there. He didn't have his ultimate. So that was a relatively stupid play that never got punished. So now Brew's hitting bottom with his ultimate ready. He blinks onto his Kunkka first. The Torrent comes in. He dodges it with his ultimate and he ends up getting hit by AA Blast. Keeper of the Light is here again. Something similar to what we saw before. This time he is focusing down the Kunkka and getting the kill there. He has lost his Wind Brewling and he throws out a boulder and then blinks after the boulder. He uses his clap afterwards, after the stun comes into play, because while a hero is stunned, you don't want to slow them at the same time. You want to have the slow to happen just as the stun is ending at the same time and stacking those crowd control together. The reason why you don't want to slow when they're stunned is because they're already not moving when they're stunned, and if you slow them and get the maximum duration of the slow, it ends up being easier to chase them down and get a couple of extra right clicks or even just get into cast range for the next ability. So now the enemy team is pushing down the mid tower, and Brew is here to respond. He has a Blink Dagger. He blinks in on Keeper of the Light rather than going on Lifestealer, which is pretty nice. He ends up not getting hit by Kunkka's bolt or AA's ultimate. However, his Brewlings do get affected by the magic damage that ticks down with AA's ulti. However, the Earth Brewling's the only one alive, and he didn't make that great of use of his ultimate in this scenario. He did take very little damage. However, he is exploiting now the fact that Lifestealer doesn't have rage or open wounds and chase him down. So really nice use to like progressively exploit cooldowns on the enemy. In turn, his team end up snowballing here really hard. As you'll see, he now wants to even blink in and go for another kill. Nearly got a kill there, and that's a really nice blink, especially when exploiting the fact that the enemy are dead at this position, and he ends up doing the exact same play a second time and ends up getting the kill this time. However, the trade-off of getting this Echo Saber is the fact that he doesn't have any auras, and he is queuing up to go like Basher into Abyssal Blade next. In turn, he shows up to this fight a little bit late, but it ends up being okay. The team are just so far ahead right now, and the cores especially. In turn, they end up being able to chase down this Keeper of the Light, take this tier 2 tower. They're even going for high ground and finishing this out. And this is really good. 23 minutes into the game at Archon, pushing into high ground. This is really fast paced in comparison to what you would normally be doing. So his teammates want to focus the racks, which is probably the best idea right now. And getting kills is kind of okay, but in turn here he has to use his ultimate to escape. He's going in playing a little bit aggressive, diving his fountain. This is kind of greedy in this scenario. He ends up backing off and decides just, okay, I'm going to blink and away after his ultimate. So in turn, his team start to go bottom. They take this tier 2 tower. He's even blinking in aggressive like he was doing before to get the kill on Zeus that we saw earlier. But now it's 40 seconds until his ultimate is ready, yet his team want to go high ground again. Because of the fact that he doesn't have his ultimate, it's not probably a smart idea to push this. But seeing as the score is 9-24, it's not that good. So also this Echo Saber means that his team won't have a pipe or even a hood for Brewmaster. This ends up being now kind of that AA's ultimate is doing a lot of damage, even Kunkka's ultimate. They don't have any auras for this team, only whatever Io has. And Io is even the one that's bringing the dust here. In turn, this Lifestealer has a lot of HP. He's now pulled out his Brew ult after his 2 other cores have died, both Juggernaut and Necrophos. He is making use of the Cyclone here onto the AA, and he does get a kill on Lifestealer, and AA is almost ticking down here. He even goes to play super aggressive onto this AA. However, Kunkka playing against him, his X marks the spot, will punish this really greedy position very well. So he's also bought a Basher, so he has no interest in really buying aura items. They are relatively boring, but they make a huge impact throughout the game. Necrophos has died here in relatively stupid position. His team are not together as 5 with what they really should be doing at right now. especially with Brew's ultimate being ready for nearly a minute now. And they're going high ground just with 2 heroes. Io isn't even there either. And Brew blinks in, he's got stunned by Zeus, now he's getting torrented, and AA Blast even in there too, with also Lifesteal's right click. A lot of damage that comes out there, and this Aegis ends up getting used, and Juggernaut gets picked as well. So this BKB would be really useful. He doesn't have it yet, and Pipe, if he had bought it, wouldn't have saved him in that scenario. Might have been able to get a kill there. Brew is now using his ultimate kind of stupidly again here on his own. There's no teammates around. Io is kind of behind him, but he ends up having to back out here. So they're losing a lot of their momentum by doing this. So Brew is marking on the map, go mid, everyone just go mid. His teammates are now deciding to group up as 5 finally. It's like literally 10 minutes they spent not grouping up. And Brew is ready. He has his BKB this time, so he can ensure that he's always going to get his ultimate off as long as he times his stuff properly. Now what's important about this is the time at which he uses his BKB. So let's see how he does it, right? So he uses his BKB early, he goes in, and just as his BKB is ending, he uses his ultimate, making the most use of time of his BKB. Maybe 1 second later he could have waited for his ulti, but either way his Brew ulti is not really getting that much done. He's getting the Cyclone out before his Wind Bruling dies, and his Earth Bruling is like throwing out a boulder here and getting some right clicks out after respawning. Kind of a weird place to respawn after his ulti ends. So now the enemy team was trying to take Roche there, and they're coming in to contest this. Brew goes in aggressive onto the other side with his BKB. He's looking just to right click someone with his Echo Saber. He was right clicking on the ground rather than doing an attack movement. He uses a clap, misses everyone, and he uses ulti before he gets chain stunned down. Now his ultimate is in a pretty decent place here. He's getting vision onto the high ground, but he ends up just dying literally to right clicks from Lifestealer. They're able to burst down his ultimate now. Yet the rest of his team is coming in and getting some nice pickup kills here. So Juggernaut started off with his Omni Slash. Brew comes in with the BKB. He used his ultimate at the end of his timing of BKB again. Yes, very good usage. The Cyclone comes out, and that boulder onto Zeus, and Zeus gets bursted down. So really nice, and 140 seconds until Zeus respawns. He commits a little bit too far here with his Brew ult, and when he respawns he gets X marked. So Kunkka is doing really well at waiting until Brew's ulti ends and using the X marks to exploit his very aggressive position. Brew is after respawning. So this is a mistake that I end up seeing a lot of people do when they get quite frustrated that their enemy team, the match is pretty close when they were ahead earlier on. They're like, team, just go mid and we'll fight them, we'll win the game. You look at his positioning right now, the enemy could just jump on him. Look at his teammates, they're so far back, no one's near him. So now they've smoked. This is the first time anyone has used smoke in this match. It's 47 minutes into the game. Pretty good that they use smoke. They're walking into the enemy jungle, and they're finding this AA that a ward was placed down. They burst him down instantly. He did not pop BKB. Pretty good that he didn't have to use it there. So now he's going to have it for the next fight. And players are not saving for buyback, which is really good. We saw last time that Zeus was dead for 140 seconds, save for no buyback. Now this time AA is no buyback. When you're playing against something like Necrophos or something that can instantly kill you like Juggernaut's Omni Slash, you generally want to save for buyback in these scenarios, but players are not interested. He blinks BKBs, he comes in, right clicks with the Echo Saber and uses his ult. So he used no spells before finishing off before using his ult here, and Kunkka's cleave ends up killing 2 of his Brulings, and 1 Bruling is only alive with a little bit of health. And Kunkka is going to come here with a second cleave and kills the Brewmaster in his ulti. So he needs to be a lot more careful later on with the overall health that his Brulings has. As a matter of fact, he's significantly more sustainable when he's in his like normal form. So now the enemy team is pushing mid. They're straight away taking aggression on this. Brew's had to buy back. He's coming in with no ulti here. He's after getting Abyssal Blade while in his BKB. They're chasing down really hard. And if anything, he's chasing a little bit too hard right now. And he's even going for the Keeper of the Light. He blinks into AA's ulti. He's getting hexed here. And he's in a really terrible position right now. And his whole team have to chase after him. And the X marks could even punish him, even if he managed to get away from this. But either way, he ends up dying here. And the rest of his team now has to back up. The rest of his team, because they were following him, he's now causing them to die. And this is really bad. Do they even have buyback here? No. And Juggernaut runs down. So Brew was making this mistake like literally 5 to 10 minutes ago of running down mid on his own, and now he's doing the same thing again. Like, there is no need to like fight there. You still have 2 lanes of racks, and in turn, because no one has buyback again, like Brew used it, and I think Juggernaut used his as well, the enemy team just pushed down this tower. So what we're seeing is quite apparent at this bracket is nobody's saving for buybacks, or even if they are, they're not making very good use of them. The items, there's like no auras, and potentially he just threw away a lot of his momentum. He used Brew ult in very questionable areas, and in turn they just end up losing the game. So this time Brew is going bottom, but instead he's communicating his team or telling him to go top. So they don't really know what lanes are going into place here, and instead they're going to play an aggro tri-lane on bottom. Brew heads top. He has a lot of regen in this scenario. He's also bought a stout shield, and he's standing back playing very defensively. He sees Viper here and knows that he can't really contest his room. This build ends up being quite advantageous because he has a lot of regen. Playing against a ranged hero in lane, especially Viper in particular, can output a lot of harass in lane, and this heavy amount of regen he's bought ends up being really good overall. So straight away he's going in a kill here. What they thought was a one-on-one lane, Rubik rotated, ended up getting a nice telekinesis lift there and killing the Viper. It's only 2 minutes to the lane. He's already used 5 tangos, and he's bought a bottle as well, so he's looking for his bottle next. And instead of using the courier, you'll see Rubik TPs out and brings it to him, which is pretty nice. Has now turned into a dual lane for a small period of time. Rubik and Pangolier are literally fighting each other in the river at this point, but Brew is just farming away. He's not getting distracted. We saw last game they chased after AA into the jungle, which was kind of silly overall, but now Brew is at 14 last hits, which was last game we saw at 7.5 minutes the Brewmaster had only 10 last hits, so he's already outdoing the previous Brewmaster. And instead he just goes to the shrine. He couldn't really contest it in case Pangolier was there. He could have easily died, but in turn he just gets level 6 here from Creep's experience just dying there. And here going in on Viper, and straight away once his ultimate is ready he's using it. So instantly, like, Viper thought he was level 5, but in turn he actually got level 6 while in the fog there, and using his ultimate here to farm up the creep wave as quick as possible, and killing the range creep first there allows the lane to push even quicker. This forces someone to come top, and Brew can't really do anything now. So now he's picked up a phase boots and a bracer, even a stick here, and he's teleporting back to base to survive through Viper's ultimate. Here he used a smoke, which is pretty nice. When you don't have a teleport, when your teleport's on cooldown, you can literally walk back to the lane vastly quicker with smoke, and this is something you can take advantage of regardless of what bracket you're at. Especially at lower brackets, people don't use the smokes. They're literally never bought into games a lot of the time. We saw last game 47 minutes was the first smoke and was the only smoke used in the entire game by both teams, and this time Brew does end up going aggressive onto Viper and using his ultimate here again quite early. He's getting his Cyclone out onto a creep. Misclick. He was probably trying to get Pangolier because he's really annoying hero with low cooldown spells, and Viper's doing a pretty good job at juking here, and either way this clap coming out, and the PA rotates as well. So Brew's ultimate lasts such a long duration, and people can never take it down early on unless you have like 3 or 4 heroes all attacking it at once. In turn his team are able to rotate and TP to the lane, and even react to that. Even the fact that Brew didn't teleport to his own tower means that the teleport cooldown on the tower, it means someone can teleport in really quickly to the top tower. Now at the same time, Brew has just after gotten a kill on bottom lane, he's going for the Shadow Shaman, which is only level 4 and he's level 9. Monka Mega. But he's making use of everything he can here and taking advantage of his movement speed being vastly quicker than Shadow Shaman, and his OD ends up picking up the kill here. And pretty nice pushing down this tower. The enemy team come in with Troll to try and contest this. He's here diving again with his ult, but this time now there's 3 heroes around against his ultimate, in turn trying to chase down this Shadow Shaman, and he's even going to get the kill. He does pick up a kill on Shadow Shaman, but 4 heroes now bottom, so space created, I guess. And as you'll see, everyone on the enemy team is farming a lane, and even PA was pushing top lane, and now she's gone into the jungle. So players take advantage so much more of this space that Brew made. So the enemy team is after pushing down this tier 1 tower. They do have shaman wards now, and Brew still doesn't have his ultimate ready, so that kind of weird play that he made with his ult is kind of getting punished now already, losing potentially 2 towers for that bad usage of Brew ult. But because he has phase boots and Vlad's now finished up, he does get to go in here quite aggressively, and Brew's managing to get away. So while he's away from the enemy team, he's bottling up and making use of this bottle and maximum health regen here. And he's coming in on this troll, which troll does have his ultimate now, and troll's ultimate does a lot of damage and also allows him to lifesteal up a lot. Brew in turn knows how far he can go with his hero, and he even has 4 stick charges now, so getting the troll to aggro onto him with his ultimate ends up being that he pulls him out of position under the tower. So now Brew is coming bottom. He picks up a kill on Shadow Shaman, which was warding aggressively. He used his 2 other Brew lanes other than his Earth one to go scouting and see if they could find anything, and in turn just comes back and farms more creeps. Brew picks up a bounty rune. He's now going in without his ultimate. Pangolier is only level 9. Brew is vastly ahead on levels in this scenario, and he's very, very tanky with his Vlads as well. But his team are bailing out of this, and he's also just going to get killed for that extra further positioning. Now there isn't anything like X-Max the spot of what we saw last game, but they do have a lot of damage that they can burst him down and also cancel his teleport in various ways, so you can't just escape super easily. They're going back in again apparently, and Brew is ready. He used his ulti quite early here just to make sure that he gets it off, and in turn he walks all his Brewlings into Viper's Nether Toxin, which ends up killing both the Fire and Wind Brewling, and it's only the Earth Brewling left here. He throws out a boulder standing on the high ground, getting vision, and another boulder out again, and he's even chasing after the Shadow Shaman now. He gets hexed here. The OD is in position, but OD is getting focused down and fighting under these wards. He's somehow surviving. He's so much HP, and now he blinked in and got hexed instantly and shackled. He's getting stunned by Pangolier ultimate as well, and he's had to buy back instantly here. This is pretty bad now. He's died 2 times in a row, and I think he's only 2 out of his 4 deaths so far. And we'll see here, he's gonna go in again on someone, and the Aegis is down on the enemy team. But OD is dead, which is a lot of their damage as well. OD didn't even get his ultimate off. But Brew is probably going to go in here again. He gets hexed, the same thing as last time. And getting decrepified and sucked off by Pugna. He's just getting bursted down. So he's had 3 deaths. So he's died more in this last 2 minutes than he's died in the entire rest of the game, which is pretty insane. So even with this Brew ult not being used yet for several minutes, we even have him going down and pushing down this tier 2 tower. Finally he's getting use of it, and throws a boulder out on Shadow Shaman, focusing down this hero first. He's typically the hero that you want to get rid of early on, just because of the hex and his shackles being so strong. And Shadow Shaman, is he going to go down here? He does, just about, getting the Cyclone out onto Pangolier, which ends up stalling Pango's ultimate and even getting banished straight after during the cast animation of Pango's spell. So Pango ends up just not getting his ultimate off and dies and has to buy back. So that was really good way of stalling and disabling a hero throughout that fight, through like multiple disables from different players. So Pango is just after using his ult. Brew blinks onto the high ground here. He's after using his ultimate. He throws out stun here and gets kill on this Pugna early on. And OD's ult is pretty big damage as well. The Cyclone out onto Troll while he's in his ultimate, so he can't lifesteal. Even he's getting braked here by Nether Toxin that Rubik is after stolen. And straight away Brew is running down mid to try and kill the creeps. All the heroes are dead. There's no reason to stick around and just look for another kill. He's immediately going for towers. As it turns out, they go for tier 4 and finish out the game. This Brew played really well, especially at the very early points. And they're using the peak point of when Brew is really strong to finish out the game. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more Dota content like this, make sure you subscribe and make sure you check out this Discord.